Hey everyone. Well, it's been a bit of another wild 24 hours. The one thing I forgot to mention yesterday about going to my oncologist is my heart rate was up, like at about 107 beats per minute. And he asked, he's like, "Are you feeling nervous?" Or I'm like, yeah. I mean, with everything going on, there's some anxiety there. And he's like, "Well, okay, but throughout the day, I need you to keep an eye on your heart rate." And he looks at Josh and he says, "And if her heart rate doesn't go down, you need to bring her into the ER." It's like, great, awesome. So we did all of our stuff, and then ruminating over all of the things that he'd said and just everything, that didn't help at all. Went to the baseball game, everything, and that was good. But then I started looking, I remembered, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on my heart rate. And even just sitting there, I'm at 106, 110, 111, back down to 106. And so it was constantly above 100, which was not good. And then that, made me more worried. And so our plan was, if it hadn't gone down below 100 by the time the game was over, we would figure something out and we'd go to the hospital. So we contacted both Josh's parents and my parents to say, hey, can you guys be on call if this is needed? So now they're worried. We get home, it's still higher than 100, and we're like, well, let's wait. Let's call the emergency nurse line. And called them. They actually got in touch with one of the ER nurses and then one of the ER doctors, who asked me some different questions and things. And their big question was about could I be dehydrated? And I think I probably was. Not extremely dehydrated, but not at the best place. And then there were some other things too, but they, asked me if other symptoms I was having. None, no other symptoms at all. And so that in itself, they're like, well, you're kind of in a gray area. If you were over 120 beats per minute, that would be an immediate come to the emergency room ASAP. But because I was kind of in that gray range of 100 to 120, without any of those other symptoms that they mentioned, which was shortness of breath, feeling like my heart was beating really fast, feeling dizzy, feeling passing, feeling like I was going to pass out, things like that. Without that, there really is no point in coming in. You just need to keep track of it. If you start getting those symptoms, then you need to come in. Or if your heart rate spikes up over 120 for a half hour period. I asked her, I was like, is it if it just, I see 120 once and we come in, or what is it? And she's like, no, it's if it goes up there and then it kind of remains there for about 20 minutes. So we ended up not having to go to the hospital. This morning I woke up and it was still kind of upper 90s, lower hundreds. And then I started drinking some hydration packs, and it has since gone down. Right now it's a little bit heavier or a little bit higher, but that's because I also just was running around trying to get stuff ready for this. But it's lower, and it's sustained a pretty low, in the 90s, a lower rate than it was yesterday. So I think we're good. And I'm just going to keep myself as hydrated as possible and make sure that stays good. So one thing, yay, that turned, I guess, as a good thing for us. But I wanted to mention a couple other updates that I have in regards to our next trip. We are officially leaving on Sunday. I got the schedule in for this round and next round. And the next round, originally they made it sound like there was some wiggle room as far as when the second treatment could happen. But apparently that's not the case, because we were hoping we could go around July 24th, and that would be awesome as far as Braden wanting to come, because he would be done with baseball, he'd be done with camps, all of that. So we didn't have to worry about him missing anything. So I asked about that, and unfortunately that's actually not the case. There's only about a 6-day window, which would put us right in the middle of one of his big things. So our only way to see if Braden could come was to see if he could come this coming week. The downside, it's his last week of school, and he has 4 different baseball games between now and potentially when we would be coming back. And we know we're like, well, we're okay if he misses the last week of school. We all know there's some stuff that happens the last week of school, but there are more important things. And as far as baseball goes, that was a decision he needed to make. So Josh actually ran down to his school, and in the office, like they pulled him down and pulled him out of class for a few minutes, and Josh talked to him, and he made the very difficult decision. Like, it was seriously emotional for him because he loves school, like loves it so much. He doesn't want the school year to end. That was a conversation I had with him this morning. He was like, no, I don't want it to end. I want to go to the last, like next Friday, there's a last like work day that kids can be invited to. He goes, I'm going even if I'm not invited. And I'm like, that's not how it works, sweetie. So he had to think through all of those different things, and he finally decided that yes, he would come with us, and he would miss out on those things that he really, really wanted. And it was really a sad thing because when he got home from school, he was almost in tears for having to say goodbye to everybody, thinking that he's never going to see, he loves his teacher, that he might never see his teacher again because he's going to middle school and he works at the elementary school. And yeah, so it was adorable, and also kind of heart-wrenching that he's giving these things up for me, because he also really wants to be there for me. So I love my kid so much. So we're all gonna go, and Josh and he will we'll spend some of the time with me doing some kind of sightseeing for things as well, because we do want it to be kind of educational for him. And so we got that. So of course that means more airfare. And then the other challenging thing is that because of the type of treatment I'm having, we don't know when we're actually coming back. You do your treatment and then you have time to recover, but they don't know how long that recovery is going to be. It might be 2 days, it might be 6 days. So we have to get one-way tickets, and then, which of course the closer you make a reservation for a ticket, the more expensive it's gonna be. So for a one-way ticket for both Josh and Braden, it's gonna cost about $1,600 for both of them together. It was like $850 for each ticket for them. And then we're gonna have to do the same thing on our return trip, is last minute schedule a plane ride for all of us, and also hope that there's room for all of us. That was the other challenge. And kind of start that over again. So that's a challenge, and I know I hate asking, but if anyone is wondering in a way that you can support us in any way, any donations or anything like that to help with that airfare, especially because we're going to be having more and more trips as time goes, that's the easiest and the best way to support the family right now. Again, you do not have to do this. I hate asking. But if that's something that you are inclined to do, there's a link in the description below for our GoFundMe. But we'll make it through no matter what. Yeah, so we got all of that. Oh, and then also on top of that and spending money and all of that, there is a program with the at the hospital called Safra Lodge, which was put together by a family named Safra, who donated money to build a lodging or something along those lines, but essentially a place where families of patients can stay for free when the patients are there for at least a week. So we were really hoping for that for Josh, and you can have up to 2 people in the room, so then hopefully for Braden as well. Unfortunately, there's no space that entire time that we're going to be there, so we have to the boys have to get a hotel instead, and none of that is covered. None of that is, the cost of that's not covered, so we got to figure that out too. Yeah, so lots of stuff still going on and some worries, but we'll make do. And yeah, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on my blood pressure, keep drinking lots of fluids, and do whatever I can to make sure I'm in tip-top shape for the treatment when it starts, because I know it's going to get to a point where I feel awful. Some of the side effects of the treatment, of course, are normal things like diarrhea or vomiting. But it also gets to a point of the possibility of hallucinations. So that would be interesting. I hope if that happens, Josh is there and records it. So we've got that. I'm trying to remember what some of the other ones were, but those were like the big things that they're like, we need to watch out for these. And I was like, okay. So you might get some interesting videos of me hallucinating and saying some weird stuff. If it's too weird, we'll block it out, but things to look forward to, right? All right. Well, I just took up like 10 minutes of your day. I hope you appreciate it. And no matter what, of course, I appreciate you guys, even just, your love and your comments. Be kind, make good choices, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully with some more updates.